myself one. Isn't that nice of me? That was me on my wedding day, and I had Christmas tree socks. We got married on December 28th, and so that was what I did. It was very fun. But I finally got the music right. That's why I did that. Right before I walked down the aisle, my dad said, "I'm really disappointed. I had chosen Pachelbel's Canon in D. I thought that was beautiful. That's what I wanted to walk down the aisle to." And my dad said, "I'm really disappointed that you didn't do Here Comes the Bride." He's not here today, but I'll play him the audio later. But he decided to tell me that right before the wedding, and I was like, "Oh, well, it's all about you." And I said, "Well, I don't like your patent leather tennis shoes," because he was a coach forever, and so he thought that'd be a funny thing to wear patent leather tennis shoes with his tux. But we decided to agree to disagree, and we had a lovely day. And both things seem a little bit funny now. And as I come into this room, I think, man, a lot has happened. A lot has happened in this very room. Apparently I was born here and I liked it and I stayed and I never left. So back in the corner, I came in and prayed yesterday all over this place for today, and back in the corner is where I sat as a kid. And then when I got a little older and could move away from my parents, I went back here and wrote notes and passed them in church. And then I got a little older and I went to college and I sat over here because I got real far away from my parents then. During chapel, I'd sit over in this area. And then we had babies. So guess where we went? The balcony. So I've been up there. So a lot of people have been like, "Well, where do you go to church now?" I go to church here. I'm just up in the balcony. So there's my people. Hi, people. There they are. We got to the balcony and we never left. They're old now, but they still cry often. So anyway, 18 years ago, almost, I walked down this very aisle. So that's very powerful for me. And I was here to meet my groom, Drew. And it was time for us to say, "I do." We had a December 28th wedding. Oh, there's my dad being grumpy about Here Comes the Bride. So there's Drew and I looking at each other lovingly. But it was a December 28th wedding, so just envision with me what this looked like. You know, at Christmas here, the poinsettias were all over the place, and so we already had decorations, and there were candles, and everything was just so beautiful, and we had beautiful music. My best friends were standing up there with me. The girls had green velvet dresses with sheer sleeves that looked like my dress. I mean, so much preparation had gone into this day, and it was beautiful. My mom was my amazing wedding planner because there's a thing where your brain is high on love. It's actually oxytocin, and I had a lot of that. And so I was just high on love, and my mom had to do all the actual planning of this wedding. So I thank her. So this was my wedding and that she planned, and it was beautiful. There I am at the front stairs. You probably recognize those. And there's my beautiful bridesmaids. The tree that you see is a 25-foot Christmas tree that my beloved Tom Kilgore chopped down for me, dragged in, hauled into the CFC down in the gym area, and almost had a heart attack doing it, but thankfully he made it through. He's still with us. And so they decorated that, and then one of my favorite parts of this was my Gladdy cake. And I see Janice out there. Her mama made the best cakes. She's not with us anymore, but Janice used to, in college, Janice would, her mom did these beautiful cakes, and she'd scrape off the top part to make them perfect, and we ate the scraped off part. And what did we call them, leftovers? Crumbs? Yeah, and so we would eat those. So when I got married, I was like, I just want a real Gladdy cake, and there it is. I got to have my Gladdy cake, so that was a big thing for me. So I've been around these parts for a long time, and but that one day, you know, you have these moments, even if you're in the same place, that mean a lot to you. So that one day is a touchstone for me. It's a beautiful day with beautiful memories and sacred promises that we still live with today. But important part of that day was this, and this is my clan. And I've always wanted to do this because people go, "You're related to who in this church?" I could just draw you lines and you'd be like, "I didn't know that was your cousin." If you can recognize any of them from 18 years ago, those are my cousins, the Wilson family there. And so we had our family stand up as part of the ceremony and say kind of some vows with us, that they would stand beside us, not between us. They would encourage us and help us on our journey. And so that was a really important part. But there was this other really important part that I think a lot of people forget, and a lot more people are putting into their ceremonies these days. And so that is the pips. And I didn't have Gladys Knight and the pips at my wedding, even though that would have been way cool. But it was just the pips that I'm talking about. And the pips are you guys, the people in the pews. The people in the pews are the pips. And that picture is not for my wedding. My poor parents did not pay for that many people to eat. a chicken dinner. But that gives you an idea that I'm talking about you guys. We all go to weddings, and we sit there for the weddings, and we go and wish them well and wish them happily ever after. But the people in the pews and the vow that we make to stand beside these people is probably the most important part of the ongoing life of a marriage. The people in the pews, the pips, we're the overlooked people because you think about the day and the flowers and the music and all this kind of stuff. But, the pips, you're there and you're reaffirming your own vows when you go through these weddings. You go to a lot more weddings as a pip than you do as the bride and groom, I hope. I hope there's only one time for you up here. But it's time really for us to take our role seriously as the pips, as the people that have said, yeah, we'll stand beside you, but I don't know how to do that. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to be the pips. So everybody try our little thing. Have you ever done the here is the church, here's the steeple? Okay, here you go. Get your hands. Wait, you got to do it like this, don't you? Here is the church. Do it with me. Here's the church. Here's the steeple. Open the doors. See all the people. Switch people for pips, okay? You're the pips. See all the pips. Doesn't rhyme, but it's much better. All right? So you're the pips. So every time, for any reason that you have your hands like this in your life, I don't know when you would, but remember the pips. Who is there in your life that you sat in their wedding and you said, yes, I'm going to stand beside them. I'm going to do this stuff. But we need the pips to keep this going. What we're really trying to do is help each other get to happily ever after. You can't do this on your own. You can't do this in a vacuum. But in the Christian community, we consider it a given, a no-brainer that we should carry each other's burdens. We're taught that from the very beginning. But do we really insert ourselves in other people's marriage relationships? It seems like it's such a private and personal matter. And then you look at yourself and you go, who am I? Trust me, when I took this job, I was like, who am I? Oh my goodness. Drew and I are trying to figure it out every single day. And so that's the funny part, is that we will unqualify ourselves to help other people. But the funny thing is we're all in the same boat. We've got to help each other to get to happily ever after. It seems like, in Jackson County, I just want you to know that there's no reason to just helplessly sit by and hope that things will work out for a couple that you're watching get married and go through this. This is a very tangible way to be the stick man that Pastor Mark talks about. You've got one hand on a hurting world and the other hand on the hope of heaven. If ever there was a time for the stick man to make sense, I feel you insert Marriage Matters Jackson. That's where our vision is to promote, prepare, and preserve healthy marriages. That's what we do. We do this through offering marriage education, events and workshops that focus on creating and sustaining healthy marriages. So our whole point is to get people healthy and keep them there. It's not for people who are broken, even though I'll talk about that in a minute. But the majority of what we're trying to do is get that middle group of people, those of us that are just trying to figure it out day by day, stage by stage, how this whole thing works. And it doesn't just happen that you walk back up that aisle and, there's the joke. I told you I loved you at the altar 40 years ago. I'll let you know if anything changes. That doesn't work. We need maintenance. We need upkeep. We need these things. So marriage is lived out in these seasons of good times and in tough times. But marriage in itself is this glue. That's the function of marriage. A lot of people will say, what's the difference between marriage and, any of this other stuff, living together or just, dating, whatever it is. But marriage is this glue, that thing that holds your commitment together and keeps us loving each other through the times where we really don't like each other. And if you know Drew and I, there's times we have not liked each other. I love him dearly, but there have been times where both of us are like, I can't stand your face. So just so you know, that's the real truth right there. But depending on where we're at in our own relationships, when we're going through those different seasons, our tone changes in how we encourage other people's marriages. So if there are times that you and I, the pips, the people in the pews, we're offering the newlyweds, good luck. Oh, it's so fun. It's so great. Oh, this is so beautiful. It's wonderful. You're probably experiencing peace and contentment and joy in your own relationship. But we all know we've been those people, those jaded people that say, good luck. Hope it works out. That kind of thing. When you've said that. You're like, I took a tone, sorry. But you're likely in a time of unrest or turmoil. You're wrestling with something in your own relationship. But no matter the season you're experiencing, we at Marriage Matters Jackson need you guys, the people in the pews, to be our ambassadors to your circle of friends and family. We at Marriage Matters Jackson, we've built the infrastructure. That's what I've been doing to promote, prepare, and preserve healthy marriages. But I'm here to tell you guys that I can't reach every individual on my own. I sure do try. You should see me. My kids will vouch for me that I'll talk to people in the drive-thru. I will talk to people in the Meijer checkout lane. It doesn't matter where people are. They're vulnerable to me somehow getting them to talk about their relationships. But I can't really get to everybody that you know. And the truth of the matter is, they're going to show you at an average of 2 years before they'll show to anybody else on the outside, because they don't want the stigma of, well, people will think there's something wrong with us. People will think we're getting divorced, you know. Truth is, there's something wrong with all of us. Let's be honest about that. So we need to get over that. But it's the people that we're close to that kind of see that stuff first. You can put on a show, you can put on a facade and come in here every week and people think, well, they have the perfect marriage. You can do that, but the people that are near and dear to you, especially your kids, are going to know what's really happening there. So I have the resources built here at Marriage Matters Jackson to keep the healthy stuff going. And so I need your help to connect people, you the people in the pews, to connect the people in your circle of friends and family to what we have going on. The whole idea of Marriage Matters Jackson just was an idea. There was a funder in town that said, we fund all these programs, but you know, it kind of just goes off. We fill a backpack or we do this stuff and it just, They said the problem is family breakdown. How can we swim upstream and do something about the family breakdown? If we could heal the family, and this is a secular, this is nobody doing this religiously, and we don't do that with our organization. Everybody can benefit from having a healthy marriage. And they said, how could we do this? Well, at that time, I was just kind of thinking, maybe I'll go back to work part-time. I don't know. I had this whole wrestling thing with, I don't know, God, can you help me find something that would, maybe use my degree and maybe, I don't know, all this stuff. I've done public speaking. And I got a call. They called me, and that's how God speaks to me in really funny ways. He has a sense of humor with me. Someone called me and said, we have your resume. I never gave you my resume. So they said, we'd love to talk to you about this marriage thing. Really? And it was thing for thing for thing that I had been praying about. It was part-time, so I could still balance mommy and work. And it was the right amount of money. It was the right idea. It was public speaking. It was marketing. It was business. It was everything. It was like, if that wasn't a God moment. So I played it cool on the phone. And then I said, well, yes, I'd love to come and speak with you. And then I hung up and I was like, what? And I called Drew and I was like, you're never going to believe this. He thought something was wrong. What, did the cat die? No, I got a call for a job. So for the past 9 years, I've been building the plane as we're flying it, not just me. There's a whole bunch of other people that have made this thing happen, and we're trying to figure out what it's going to be, but we know that it's working, and we know that people really are excited about this stuff, and I love what I do. So I thought today I'd bring you guys 3 points, because every good sermon has 3 points, right? And it's a 3-point plan that I need from you guys, the people in the pews, the pips. I need you guys to do these things. And those 3 things are, I hit the button. Maybe not. Oh, Sam gave me all right, there we go. Our job is pips. This is your job description. We've got to prepare people for marriage. Sometimes we have to intercede for them, and then we have to help preserve. Preserve is the big part of this that we've really got to work on. So let's go with the first one, prepare. Preparation for marriage starts way before the wedding day. Even weddings take a long time to plan, but the marriage, it takes a long time. It's about an average of 2 years that people should spend getting to know each other and to really see each other in a lot of different settings. Drew and I were kind of a whirlwind. We met each other at Somerset Beach Campground as kids, kind of knew each other but didn't really date until my senior year at Spring Arbor, and we got together, and then we were engaged by July and married by December. And it was like, whoa, where did that come from? I don't recommend doing it that fast, but we worked it out. And we learned some of these things while we were actually married. But preparation is a really big deal. What we do at Marriage Matters Jackson is we start by going into the high schools. And so the logo that you see on the left there is how to avoid falling for a jerk or jerkette. So we go to high schools, we go to colleges. We've been over at Spring Arbor University with different groups. And this is a big deal because people don't know how to couple. They want to couple, but they don't know how to do it. They don't know the rules. They don't know the practical side of how this whole thing works. Is it just chemistry and we fall in love and then happily ever after? We kind of break it down for them. Last year we did that for Northwest High School, had a couple hundred kids show up for that, and they're clearly hungry for this information. Last week I was able to be in our own backyard at Western High School, and that was exciting and weird because my freshman was there too. So that was kind of like, my whole world is crashing and getting weird. But that's what we do for high school kids, because we could go to elementary kids probably, but I've only got so many resources. But we go back and we say, form healthy relationships from the beginning. So many people do our stuff and they say, boy, I wish I knew this when I was a teenager. Okay, so we'll go back and tell the teenagers. Then from there, we offer 4 great dates before you say I do. And I'm looking at you guys, because I can't see you because the lights are in my eyes, but I'm assuming this is college people over here, as it traditionally is. But we try to get people who are seriously dating to come to our workshops before they are engaged, because engagement becomes all about walking down the aisle and the flowers and all the stuff that I showed you for that one day. They stop preparing for the marriage, and that's where the tragedy lies, okay? So we offer these, we do it 2 times a year, 4 great dates before you say I do. So we go on dates and it's fun and they have a little date night, but within it, we sneak in all this great information. So we talk about conflict resolution and we talk about, communication and money, and yes, I can make money even be an interesting, fun subject to talk about. So we're trying to catch these people while they're in that, should we be together? Is this a good thing? We don't want people to waste, years of their lives on somebody that maybe it wasn't a good connection. Let's figure it out early. But there are also people that are engaged and newlyweds actually come to our 4 great dates as well, just to say, let's confirm what we need to know. Is there anything we don't know? That kind of stuff. We want people to prepare for the wedding, for the marriage, not just the wedding. The wedding is a one-day thing. It's a great memory, but it's a one-day thing. 90% of people desire this marriage relationship. And marriage is the foundational piece of our families and our culture. Marriage preparation is like buying insurance for your long-term marriage success. We can do better than offering our couples more than a flip of a coin and hope that they end up on the right side of marriage success. But we need to know the facts. We as the pips, we as these people need to know the facts. Did you know that the divorce rate is not 50%? Didn't most people think 50% was, everybody's like, yeah, it's a 50-50 gamble when you get married. It's actually more like 40%. Not great, but it's better than 50%. It's better than what people are saying when they give up on, well, I don't know, I guess I'll just not get married. So the marriage rate, unfortunately, divorce rate is falling, but so is the marriage rate. And that's a tragedy because marriage really does matter. Marriage makes a difference. And it's different than dating or living together and all that kind of stuff. So I want people to know your chances are great for success. It's not a flip of the coin. The other thing I want you to know, and also the reason that things are different between, all these other things that we try to call marriage and family and all that kind of stuff, there's actually a difference and a change that happens chemically in your brain when you have the commitment of marriage. There's something that the chemicals, and I don't know all the fine points with it, but something chemical happens in your brain when you get married, and it actually solidifies your commitment in your brain. So something does change with marriage. It's different than everything else. The good news for all of us, though, people in the pews, is that the divorce rate is much lower for people who are active in their faith and regularly attend church. So good job. You're doing better than everybody else. For a long time, people tried to tell us that the people in church were just as susceptible to this divorce thing. And so it was kind of like, well, what does any of this mean then? Why do I even, try to do this well? The good news is, and Pastor Mark, by the way, did not tell me to say that. He's not even here, so he wouldn't even know. But it's the truth. Coming to church regularly together will decrease your chances of divorce exponentially. Dr. Brad Wilcox of the University of Virginia and director of the National Marriage Project tells us that people who regularly attend worship services together have an average drop of roughly 50% in their divorce rates compared to those who do not attend church regularly. Having a real faith, having a shared faith is huge. And people need to know this that are preparing for marriage. Now, we know that even with the best preparation, life still throws us some plot twists. A lot of us have seen some plot twists in our lives. But so sometimes you can't just deal with just the healthy stuff. We're all one tragedy away from needing some pretty big intercession here. So the number 2 step, the I in PIP, is intercede. It's to intervene on behalf of another person. or couple. So what we do at Marriage Matters Jackson, we do this for healthy marriages, but the acquiring of skills is done to practice in good times. If you practice this stuff in good times, when the tough times come, when the storms come, you've got the tools to pull out. That's what we're trying to do. You don't want to wait until everything's broken and be like, oh dear, we should probably try to do something with this. That doesn't work really well. So when life really throws us a doozy, we need to have good pips around us who will intercede on our behalf when we might be just done, completely paralyzed, incapable of doing anything. So I wanted to share this story that a couple of great eyewitnesses, Mark and Luke, some friends of mine, they have this eyewitness account of the paralyzed man. And this, just think of the whole connection that I'm giving you between times that we're going through some tough stuff and what our friends, our pips can do for us. So think of the paralyzed man that was carried to Jesus by his friends. His friends were powerless to help him. There was nothing that the doctors could do, or they would have already carried him there. He couldn't help himself, and if he could work at all, it probably wasn't much. He would certainly have been a charity case, but his friends went out of their way to help him. But let's face it, this guy, his situation, he was a pretty helpless mess. Paul says in Galatians 6:1 that we need to bear one another's burdens and so fulfill the law of Christ. Sometimes the burdens are our friends' troubles and problems, but at times it seems like the burden is our friend themselves. It's our Christian duty to help. Sometimes we just need to lend a hand, help carry the load. Sometimes we need to be a crutch. Sometimes we need to fully carry them along. Sometimes the load is great enough that we need others to share it with us. Here, 4 friends have gotten together and worked together to carry their sick friend to Jesus. Sometimes kindness and encouragement is all that you need, but often it's heavy lifting and toting. And in this case, carrying somebody up the stairs. Carrying their friend to Jesus through the front door would surely have been work enough. It would have been hard enough, but these men had to get past and around many other people and obstacles. Sometimes there are a lot of obstacles between us and Jesus and between our friends and Jesus. People can be serious obstacles. They can be uncaring or just taking up time and space. Some can actively hinder what's happening in a relationship. Purposely or not, other people are often the greatest obstacle in getting our friends to Christ and the help that they need. So ironically, the next step of getting their friend to Jesus required both climbing and digging. So since the only access they had to the house where Jesus was through the roof, so they had to carry the sick man up and jostle him through the crowd, but now they had to climb. They had to climb with a guy wrapped in his bedding. This was not an easy job. Then, when they got there, it took time to dig through the roof tiles and in the ceiling. These friends were not going to be denied getting this friend to Jesus. They were going to get their friend the help that they knew that Jesus could give them. It was a real commitment, though, to dig through some stranger's roof and make a man-sized hole in it. That's presumptuous. Such was their love for their friend and confidence in Jesus' power and willingness to help that they would have interrupted this discussion with Jesus and these local theologians by coming through the roof. Can you imagine? You're sitting there talking to this really famous person and all of a sudden the ceiling knocks in. You're going to think, this is weird. So if they're wrong, they're going to be the biggest laughing stocks in the town. And small towns, as we know, have long memories. If Jesus disapproves of their paralyzed friend, this guy's going to be a helpless human piñata swinging in the living room of a stranger's house. And all these important religious people are surrounding him. So what an awkward situation this is. Can you just look up and see the sweaty faces of these friends that were like, please do what you can to help? To me, this is a perfect example that interceding is not always an easy task. Something that sticks out to me in this story is that they had to coordinate, they had to climb, they had to dig, and they had to stick their necks out to make this happen for their friend. And the friend himself wasn't even seeking help. He was paralyzed, he was incapacitated, he was done. He had nothing left to give. It was the friends who had the faith, the friends that had the plan to get them there. Those faithful friends found a way even when it wasn't convenient or easy. So my question to you is, can't we? Can't we do the same thing? Marriage Matters Jackson offers a practical piece of intercession called marriage restoration. Every Monday night, 48 weeks a year, we offer this. I told you we do things for healthy couples, but we would get the calls that somebody said, We were fine last week. I would have told you that we were fine, but it's a job loss or a health issue or something really big that has happened and we're in trouble. I couldn't stand saying to them, well, hey, in about 6 weeks, you can go to a fun communication workshop. I didn't want to do that. So we came up with marriage restoration. And it's been an amazing journey with this workshop. I don't teach this one, but we have wonderful counselors who have taught this for us. 14 different topics that they rotate through, so people can just come any Monday night and get a full topic. And then if they can't come for a little bit, come another Monday night. We don't charge for this workshop, and they don't even have to register. We just want people to show up. They don't have to speak, they don't have to talk. We've had some people that only one of the couple came. Some people never say a word, and they look like maybe they're not getting much out of it, and later on send us notes about how much they got out of this. What we're trying to do is take the stigma out of going to work on your relationship. There shouldn't be a stigma. We're all kind of a little bit of a mess. We all need help at one time or another. But we made this something that would take all those barriers out of the way so that we can help people find the hope and healing that they need. Now, these aren't taught from a Christian perspective. We didn't want to get the fighting in town of which kind of Christianity and all this stuff. So I and my staff are Christians, but what we do with Marriage Matters Jackson is we're trying to get the whole community to come in. And let's talk about relationships. Let's talk about what's common to all of us, regardless of who you are, where you came from, how much you earn, where you go to church. And so one of my favorite stories that I'll share, I'll try to share it quickly, is the Timmons. They were a couple that had been married 30 years. She didn't want to be married anymore. He tried and tried and tried. She said, I don't know, kind of sick of you. I don't think I've ever been happy, and tried to do that whole thing that we've heard people do, negate their whole life. I never loved you, which is a bunch of baloney usually. They're just going through something. So the husband said, okay, I'm going to cut you free. I can't try anymore. You've won. So they got divorced. They're grown-up children. They had 3 grown children who were devastated. Their church was devastated. I mean, it was just this huge, terrible thing. So for a couple of years, the kids said, we don't want you guys at the same events, like birthday parties and stuff. We're going to have to, it's got complicated and, all this kind of stuff. And after a couple of years, the kids said, okay, let's have them come and we can all be together. We can all get through this. So what happens is the dad's out at the barbecue at a birthday party, and the ex-wife comes out and starts, as he says, flirting with me. That's what he said. He goes, she was flirting with me. So they started talking, and she started seeing what a great guy he was. What? They didn't want their kids to know because they thought, oh, we cannot do this to them again. They started coming to marriage restoration on the sly, just kind of came in, just kind of doing this thing. So they went through it and got to know our good buddy Bob Pletcher, who was teaching this at the time, and talked to him on the side about some things. And about a year later, they got remarried. And that is a huge victory. And I was interviewing them for one of our videos that's on our website. And Jamie, the dad, says, she's the girl of my dreams now. And that's huge to me. A 30-year marriage that was just done. You'd think, oh man, that's just a tragedy that we'll have to chalk up to something terrible. They found restoration and redemption. And so that's not the only time that kind of stuff has happened. And so I'm really excited about when we intercede, when we find these things, what it can do for families. And when I interviewed them for the video, I had tears coming down my face because I wasn't on screen, so my mascara running didn't bother anybody. And I said, you're about to have your first grandchild. How exciting to know that this breakup, this divorce, all this hurt was just a ripple, just a tiny little thing on the screen. Those grandkids will never know anything but grandpa and grandma being happy. Those adult children have their parents intact and have hope for their own relationships. That's huge to me. So again, I'm appealing to you to be my ambassadors and link people to Marriage Matters Jackson. It might be as simple, if you find somebody that is in trouble, as handing them one of our brochures. And after first service, they came up and grabbed some, and people just have them with them and give them a brochure that tells them about this. Directing them to our website, marriagemattersjackson.com, or coming alongside and attending a Monday night session with them. I will tell you right now, I want to be a better Pip. This next Monday night, what's next Monday? Listening Beyond the Words. If anybody wants to join me, I'll meet you at the United Way Center, and I'll go with you to Listening Beyond the Words, because I can get a lot out of that too. But if you're going, I don't want to go by myself, or we're just not sure, get my card, get my email address, tell me, I'll meet you there. I want you to come to this thing, but that's what you can do for your people in your sphere of influence. Say to them, hey, no big deal. It's fine. We'll just go to that. Yeah, it'll be fun. We don't have to say anything. We can just go and listen. But that small action can make a big difference. So now for the final piece of PIP, preserve. This is perhaps the most under-addressed component of all the marriage topics, preserving these healthy marriages. This is the long haul. This is the part where we prepare for just this finite amount of time for marriage, and hopefully the interceding is a finite of time for these weathering the storms and that kind of stuff. I hope that's a finite amount of time. But preserve is this whole other piece that's what we do with the bulk of the time. And our very mission, as you know, is to keep things healthy. So in order to do this, we created a lineup of events and marriage workshops that address things that are common to all of us. A lot of thought and preparing and planning has gone into these workshops to make them look effortless and just fun and practical and encouraging. I'm telling you, people do not come to lectures. They do not spend their discretionary money on feeling bad about themselves. So what we do is try to get people to come in and feel good about themselves. What's right about us? What can we do even better? So in almost 9 years we've been doing this. We brought in some great talent to town. Mark Gungor, Laugh Your Way to a Better Marriage. Gary Chapman was my favorite, 5 Love Languages. I sat right back there in that choir room and chatted with Gary Chapman, who is like a rock star to me. The guy that wrote the 5 Love Languages is right here with me. Hal Runkle from Scream Free Marriage, Jay and Laura LaFoon, and of biggest fame, who's our biggest, most famous person we brought to town? Did you say Miss Kay? I think I heard somebody say that. Miss Kay from Duck Dynasty. That was huge. We brought her to town to share her story, and she was the most down-to-earth, lovely lady, and she shared her story of faith and hope and healing in such a lovely way. And she, to me, was a great example of she interceded for her family when there was no hope. I mean, if you know their story, there was not a lot of redeeming qualities in her husband Phil and in their marriage. She could have easily just said, forget it, and everybody would have justified it. But what she did is she basically took Phil with her little hands and held him down through the roof to Jesus and said, I know you can do something with this, Jesus. And now they're a really amazing family that's impacting the whole world. We've got you covered with everything from, you see up here, we do Valentine's date nights, just a night to put on the calendar and invest in each other. Money and marriage, things that are common to us talking about money. We talk about intimate marriage topics. We'll turn down the lights and turn up the heat. And then we've got the second half of marriage, which is a workshop we do in January for people who are empty nesters and in that second half of marriage to rejuvenate that. There's a whole trend that's starting with, it's called the gray divorcee, where people get to that point and they're like, I'm sick of your face. I'm moving on. Terrible, devastates everybody, destroys your adult kids, destroys the grandkids, terrible stuff. So what we're trying to do is, hey, before it gets to that point, let's have some fun, reinvent ourselves, have some fun planning for what's ahead. And so that's what the second half is doing. So now is the people in the pews, young and old, in plenty and in want, in sickness and in health, in joy or in sorrow. We have to remember that it's never too late to live happily ever after. And we've got to take that message to other people. They have to hear that. So many people just say, I've talked to judges where they say, I will have people in my courtroom that say, we don't want to get divorced, but we don't know what else to do. That breaks my heart. That's unnecessary divorce. Unnecessary divorce, it's not abuse, it's not substance abuse, it's not infidelity. Unnecessary divorce are those divorces where people just were kind of like, we didn't know what else to do. We can do something about that. So what I ask of you is come to these events that we've created for you. You'll enrich your own marriage while quite possibly helping others to preserve theirs. So there is your People in the Pew, PIP job description. Prepare, intercede, and preserve healthy marriages. Because marriage and family are the bedrock of our society, and we live in a day and age when spiritual warfare and the marriage are under attack with the spiritual warfare is blatant. It is clear in this area that Satan feels if he could knock the family down, it's pretty easy from there. It's chaos from there. We need to work together. We have got to work together to promote, prepare, and preserve healthy marriages. I've been working about 9 years on this with a burden for the preservation of the family and providing programs to that end. People let me know all the time how much they love this and they're hungry for this. We know there's a need. We've got proven solutions, but I have to be truthful with you. We need your help. You, the people in the pews, we need you to support our programs through your prayers, through your attendance, through your advocacy, and through your financial support. We cannot be sustainable without our PIPs. I just can't reach everybody. So what I ask you guys to do is let's all just keep calm and say we do. I want us to say that we do. We care about our own relationships and those people in our lives that you go, boy, I wish somebody would talk to them about that. You're those people. You are those people. They will come to you and show fracture 2 years before they're going to go and get any type of actual help. So if you can help be that piece that sends them to something that could just keep it healthy or help it through those tiny times of trouble, I would really appreciate it. So here's what we know. Marriage does matter. It really matters. It matters to us, to our kids, to our families, to our friends, to our workplace. We have a whole thing we do with employee matters because we know if people are happy in their job, they'll be happy at home. And if they're happy at home, they'll be happy at their job. And it helps the bottom line of work. We're covering a lot of things. But our community as a whole is affected by this. You know, if you're a person who looks at things financially, divorce and family breakdown are expensive. It's a waste of money. So let me be the first to say, though, I want to be a better PIP. Yeah, I feel like I could phone it in and check it and go, yep, runs an organization for marriage, kind of covered there. No, I've got my own people that I sit in the pews at their weddings, and I say I will stand beside them and behind them, but not in between them, that I will help them. And there have been some tragedies in our family and in our friend groups, the people that you go, what happened? And trust me, if you want to feel guilty about something, it's me being in this position, wondering what to do. So I want to be a better PIP. I want to be a better person who is making these practical things happen. It's not rocket science. It's not anything that you have to have a degree or a professional anything to do. We can help people get started on this road and then get them to the professionals. So I want to pray this morning. And, you know, a lot of times we say take a posture of prayer right where you are. But I would really, really love, for those of you that feel comfortable doing that, for you to come up to the altar and actually come here with me, pray with me, let me know that I'm not alone in this. And I want us to storm heaven together with prayers and petitions that are weighing on our hearts. I know that right now that you all can think of somebody. If you're in good shape, wonderful. But I know there's somebody, some couple, somebody that's weighing on your heart that you're thinking, well, you know what, maybe we should just keep them afloat too. Maybe we can kind of do this together, or maybe we can help them. So I want you to come here, come to the altar. There's no stigma, there's no, hey, if I go to the altar, people will think I'm in trouble. We're all in trouble. We all need to do this stuff, but we all need to seek Jesus. We've got to seek first his kingdom, the kingdom of God, and his righteousness, and then he will add all these things to us. He will help us, but we've got to go about this the right way. So the team is going to sing a song to get us prepared for prayer, but I would pray that just you'll come, and you'll just come, and I know you're hungry, so am I, but let's stop the tummy growls for a minute and just come on up here and just get on your knees and let's pray. Let's ask God to help start a revolution. Marriage Matters Jackson isn't in any other communities. Other communities are coming to us to ask us what to do. I want to say that the people in the pews at the weddings and in the churches in our community figured it out so I can help them know what to do in their communities. So I want to truly start a revival of people that are excited about strengthening families. So as they're singing, make your way up here and then we'll pray together and storm heaven with what we want to ask him for.